Well, the reasoning where all these budgetary concerns come from is these screens here. Uh, Having a good KGB loyalty is going to be good for our political PowerPoint growth, as well as our generals' loyalty. Uh, and I think, was there some other factor as well? I don't remember what I read about that. We have a good education, good law and order. So our industries, only our, I think this is our arms and whatnot industry. It's it and our hard industry. They are doing great. We don't need them to be this high. In fact, if we keep them maxed out like this, it means that we are going to be wasteful, and all the excess money that we pour into that category of spending is just going to go into the pockets of corruption. So yeah, we don't really want that to happen. I'm going to go start from having this on the science focus and then tweak it from there on. What we are going to get most savings from is this propaganda tab, I think, even though I don't know if we can afford having diplomatic missions too low, but we'll I suppose we'll cut back on that spending a little bit. We are not going to be going aggressively on the international frontiers. We don't need our hard industry and MIC this high. In fact, until they get lower, until it's no longer maxed out, I'm going to cut their spending in half even. Yeah, so that's where we'll get a whole lot of savings. Yeah, we don't want to import anything. It's apparently one can use it in a pinch of some kind of a shortage, but really, if we do this for an extended period of time, it's going to make our own industry not grow as well. Let's just say we don't need as much money in fighting against corruption, but we do want maybe more salaries of officials, just in case that determines our political points. I'm not sure if it affects that at all. Currently, we are... Well, this will affect our political points as well, but having these this high in the beginning, I just feel like our money is better spent elsewhere. State mechanism is the big one. Well, apart from I suppose since that corruption thing I wanted it to be at 220, we'll have it at 220. Our law and order was maxed out, so we'll cut back on that as well a bit. KGB, we want them to have a budget. but because that's going to affect our political power as well. Authority points, that might be what they call it in the game. Cultural enlightenment, let's see here. I think it affects the self-fulfillment thing, and it's not currently maxed out, so we'll give some more funds to that. Army technology, we are going to keep it at minimum pretty much, because we want to really get this civil technology up. It's what is going to affect our bottom line the most, apart from, well, it's going to get our economy to grow. I think that there might be diminishing returns though on that. So 170s, I think it might already mean economic growth, but I'm going to put it at 190, maybe 200 or whatever if we have extra money to spend. Another thing we want to heavily spend on is computerization. It's going to lower our corruption. Actually, even 160 maybe. Atom technology, I don't really know about that it's like whatever. We'll just have it a bit better. State propaganda, no. We want it higher than 80. Definitely we want that higher. Maybe even 110. It's one of those things that you can't afford to not have in the beginning a whole lot of. Support for ecology. We are going to start losing points on ecology because of our heavy industrialization quite soon. Support for UN. I'm not quite sure what the differences between these are, but I think that like I got kind of the feeling from my own playing that support for UN is going to affect our foreign trade more than diplomatic missions or whatever. Anyway, I think I'm kind of feeling like these two I think might affect our foreign trade kind of a thing, exporting. We want to export, I think, still, though. Now then, this is another thing we want to spend money on. Agriculture. I don't think we are maxed out. We are not maxed out, but okay, we are probably going to want some more on that. These, I don't know what infrastructure does, by the way. How's our housing doing? We can cut down on housing. Let's put it at 40 for now. It's going to start dropping maybe significantly, but we want all our light industry to be at least 170, I think, and maybe infrastructure as well. But what can we really cut down on it? And services we wanted maybe like 100. other social spendings. Let's see. Citizens' income, it's almost maxed out. What these other social spendings does is, at the very least, it's going to affect the our citizens' income. We are almost maxed out, so we can cut back on that dramatically. So, medical technology, education, availability of education, but our level of education isn't maxed out yet, but whatever, we'll get some less of that, because like we don't want these to go into corruption either, these funds. That would be bad as well. Now we have a whole lot that we can spend on services and light industry, I think, at least. Didn't I? I think I already checked that housing problem of ours there. Medical technology is one that I was wanting to look at as well. Medicine, it's not maxed out. We want it to be better, and medicine availability isn't maxed out either. We don't need it to be too high, this medical technology. But we have that extra money to spend now. We could maybe get some more on that, yeah. And it seems that we will be able to get civil technology to 200 with all our cutbacks on other stuff. Our services. 120 at that. Infrastructure. There-ish. Agriculture, in the beginning, I suppose we start getting problems on that. And I might just leave 100 millions in the bank, because we might not start getting our stuff just yet. Oh, and here we can support some kind of we can't support the conservatives for whatever reason, but I don't kind of really want to support the Stalinists either. I could well, it says no possibility there, but I think pressing this will outright ban the moderates, and it will put them their seats to Stalinists and or conservatives. We don't want this many moderates. I think we'll do support the Stalinists for a little while, not too long. But I'm going to forget cutting back on that. That was our council. Then there's it's not that one. I don't have. Where's the one I'm here? We currently can't change our ministers. I'm going to see whether next turn we can. So, I think now we are going to start to get into the game proper. I could be wrong still. No, we are still in the history phase. Vladimir Vysotsky becomes extremely popular among Soviet youth. His songs are completely unacceptable because he criticizes and mocks our party. Even party members began listening to him, so we need to do something. Look, I'm all in for free speech, but if we allow people to get into that more liberal mindset, they are going to want more and more freedom, and it's just going to be a downward spiral for us. We can't have that at this point in time. Maybe later, but for now, drastic situations require drastic measures. We are going to arrest and imprison Vladimir Vysotsky. Vysotsky was arrested and sent to the mental asylum, where he will spend the next 10 years, because only insane will create such horrible songs. Many are unhappy. A dissident movement is gaining strength. Yeah, well, things happen. We have negative political PowerPoints now. We still can't spend our science, nope. 1980. Retirements in Poland. After Poland gained a massive debt and entered the economical crisis, government had to raise all prices, which led to protests. Leader of Poland retired, but the new one still can't deal with the situation. We are not going to transfer power to moderates, and not going to tank our relations with the US. We are going to use the army to control the protests. Leaders of protesters were arrested and other people were dispersed by the army. We have minimum victims. Our this here is the DEFCON level of the United States. 5 is the maximum. They would really like us there. And this here is how much longer it will, how much more will it take until they lower their DEFCON level there, where they will go to a higher alert thing. So we don't want this to go below 0 necessarily. I think we can take DEFCON level 3 and whatnot, like, but it's whatever. We still can't spend money on our science points. Samantha Smith, Comrade General Secretary, we received a letter from the USA. It looks like some girl decided not to believe lying imperialist media, which claims that we are getting ready for war, and wants to know about our real policies. By the way, I just remembered that these videos are going to get content ID'd because apparently this music is owned by somebody or whatever. It's not going to be a copyright strike, but there may be ads. That's what YouTube's page said there. I could mute all that music on your end. That wouldn't be optimal, I think. Even you would prefer the possible ads. I'm sorry about them if you see any. Another possibility is that I could replace the music with my own. The problem with that is I really don't want to spend the effort on that. If somebody else wants to spend the effort and send me some kind of a playlist I could use of free to use music for this kind of a game, feel free to do that, and I probably will then even use that, but you're just going to have to deal with that, and I'm also going to have to deal with the shame of having that kind of a situation going on. So I think this might tank our relations with the US. We might show her around the USSR how great we are, yeah, and that might actually do some good for us, so we are going to do just that. Answer was sent instantly. Samantha was invited to visit our country and see our peacefulness. After her arrival, we sent our scouts in the USA, and our relations were improved. She became famous in her country. Pre-game events are over. The game is started. Okay, and we are... I didn't check on the previous one whether we could do any of this, but first of all, I suppose we are not yet going to go for that military thing. There is kind of an event that will tank our one of our things if we go down this route, but it's going to make our essential goods, I think, situation better, and that's always a nice thing to have. However, I suppose it might also kind of reduce the spending we need to use on agriculture. These policies are going to massively decrease the amount we are going to have to spend on agriculture, and it's kind of really nice that but I suppose since we are already having that space technology, we don't necessarily need also these genetic things to improve our essential goods things. So I'm going to focus on actually having more arable land and getting our agricultural spending down that way. So, after development of new methods of farming on the infertile soil, we will gain much greater harvest. New Virgin Soil Campaign. The Soviet Union owns a great territory and only a part of it is settled. We must fully use our country's riches. So those two are what I want to do. I may want some military technology, but I'm not sure. Oh, of course we do want this. Because this branch is pretty much going for increasing our people power. And that's what we are mostly using when we do stuff on the international level, spend spend on that on the arms kind of a thing. So we want to increase the size of our military. We are going to take the final technology researching. Our military tech is still usable, but the war in Afghanistan showed that we need to improve it. We need to listen to military's advice and upgrade our weapons. That reminds me, I'm going to have to send weapons to Afghanistan. Or do I even want to? Do I care, really? It's going to be a long-term project, that one. And if we stop the war in Afghanistan, that's going to keep the... well, I'm going to come back to that decision later. It's not yet that we need... that will help our energetics research, apparently. UNK Proton-Proton Collider. Creation of Proton Collider will let us to get better understanding of fundamental physics, which will help us our energetics research. We want that, but we also want CCTV cameras. We don't want to spend too much on the KGB, and that's going to reduce the amount that they are going to need to be that they are going to need to be effective. CCTV cameras on the streets and roads will help us maintain order, or is it maybe law and order thing? Anyway, that's another thing that we want to cut down on our spending. Okay, and the last thing that we even really can research now is this UNK Proton-Proton Collider. We'll do that as well, sure. So, war in Afghanistan. What do we want to do about that? No, that's Iraq. Here's Afghanistan. We could try to pacify that, but that is going to just mean that we give up on that. We have a decent amount of control there, but we are not going to get... I've never really gotten Afghanistan to join, really, to win the war in Afghanistan. Invite to Comecon would require it to be pro-Soviet and no civil war. Didn't pacify or pacified, and the USA have fallen. We can't get them to Comecon if we pacify them, or unless USA falls. So not really what we want to do. We don't want to lose control over Afghanistan either. I suppose we'll try sending them weapons route, even though this is going to just drag on and drag on. It's never going to get better. We don't... Oh, here we have some disapproval. Civil aid is going to give us 5 country development instantly. And having higher country development is going to mean that our disapproval rises less quickly. And that's what we want as well. So... it might not be such a bad idea to spend. I know I'm kind of going back and forth on these, but nah, we are not going to do anything on that front just yet. Okay, we'll see what happens now. We have 43 political PowerPoints. Hopefully we can get them up. There are events that are going to diminish them quickly.